just got wrecked.
Oh!
Somebody! Oh!
He needs some milk!
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an alright day today. We do, in fact, have a bloody Sunday on our hands. Bitcoin, major flash crash. You can see we fell all the way down to $50,000. It is a sea of red. Not even the altcoins are safe, except for that one shining beacon of hope right there in the bright green. And yes, I'm talking about DOGECOIN, but in all sincerity, what is actually happening with the markets? Why are we seeing this blood red? Should we be worried? Well, in my previous video, I actually pointed out, were we seeing a Bitcoin top signal? Is the bubble about to burst? And there are a lot of people that are very scared right now about this price action. So what I want to talk about in today's video is, number one, why we're actually seeing all of this blood in the markets. There are a few hypotheses floating around right now. I'll let you know about those. I'm also going to show you what my opinion is on this situation and let you know exactly what I am doing right now and whether or not we should actually be worried. Now, keep in mind, we still do have the fear and greed index in extreme greed. And I know you're probably saying to yourself, we've been going sideways, consolidating. Well, we are still in the extremely greedy territory. So it could just be that we needed a shakeout. But I want you to stick around to the end of today's video. I have a very important video clip that I want to show you that I think will reaffirm a lot of your beliefs in Bitcoin if you are a Bitcoin believer. And I think you're going to end today feeling a lot better and confident about the markets after this crazy bloodbath. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it. And without further ado, let's dive directly into the charts. Now, you can see that it does appear that we did fall out of, I suppose now you could almost call this a rising wedge, which is why in my last video, I was hesitant to say it was potentially a triangle because it was somewhat of a wedge formation, right? Now we did fall out of this. Now, should we be getting bearish? Well, the interesting thing is if we still take the lowest points, right? Right here, we had 43,000. The next low right here was actually 50,300, and this low that we had right here was actually 52,000. Now, this was over on Bittrex. Obviously, we went a lot lower on spot, on leveraged, futures trading derivatives because you're obviously, betting against the price of where Bitcoin's going to go. But on the actual spot, you could see we actually put in a higher high. So you could see, yes, we are starting to have a bit of a curve, but we are still putting in higher highs, higher lows and higher highs. So we still have our structure on the chart, right? We're still continuing to the upside. So that is something very important to note. And the other thing I want to mention is we actually fell. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think we were going to fall this much. I'll be the first person to admit I was not expecting this big of a drop. But if we do go back and look at our historical chart that we've had right here, and you can go back to any video, guys, we have not changed these levels. These are the same levels we've been looking at for over a month. We perfectly finally filled our blue box territory down here. And not only did we fill it, we actually filled it exactly to the exact dollar amount. You can see right here, perfect wick. Yes, I was trading on leverage. I am down a little bit because we were accumulating a little bit higher. I had to close my position because of ADL, but I have reopened more of my position down here, which I have been able to accumulate. So if you guys are interested in learning how to do that, you can check out my tutorial on Bybit where I show you guys exactly how to do this. Please don't be using high leverage. These markets are very volatile, but with low leverage and a little bit of practice, you would be able to make some decent gains off of these moves. So I do have a tutorial popping up on that, and I will keep you guys updated on these Bitcoin moves. But aside from hitting our goal perfectly, you will notice that even though you do have these wicks, some people call them the scam wicks, right? Which do fall out of the structure. If I actually zoom in right here, even though, yes, we have had a pretty brutal daily candle, you'll notice that we've already pulled ourselves back in to this ascending channel. So you could see we are still on track. I mean, look at this. Bitcoin is still within this range. So all I think that this was potentially just something to just, shake the weak hands out. But a lot of people are asking me, why did this happen? What actually caused it? Well, that's what I want to go into today's video. Now, if you are a fan of these CME futures gaps, then you will notice right here that we were able to, the gap is actually up around $62,000. So there is that potential chance that we do just pump straight up and fill it. Are we going to do that? Well, this is the thing. I think come Monday, there's only two real options. We're either going to instantly pump and fill it, or unfortunately, the market is going to fall back into this wedge, and we're going to continue consolidating for probably another week or so. It's probably going to bore people, and what it's going to do is now we had this flash crash, then we go sideways. That's going to create more uncertainty. More smaller retail, traders are probably going to get rid of their Bitcoin, sell their Bitcoin because they're worried it's going to fall lower. And then I do believe we are setting up for the next leg higher. But remember, my friends, it's all about diamond hands.
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
The other interesting thing to point out is that we are actually not really changing too much in relationship of Bitcoin dominance to altcoins. So it's not like we're seeing, the altcoin dominance, get insanely higher, or the Bitcoin dominance get insanely higher. It's still relatively the same market relationship of Bitcoin to altcoins. The only difference is we just had this crazy flash crash, which already looks like it's attempting to recover. So would it be a possibility to fall back down to the $50,000 level again? Could we come down here and retest it with a solid wick? Sure. Not out of the cards. Even if we were to come down here, we would still, hopefully, falling below that would be a little bit of concern because we have a lot of volume around 46,000. But guys, right now there's no reason for panic. We're still trending upwards. So you can't really become a bear yet because we haven't broken the structure. We're still doing higher highs and higher lows. So I'm not going to harp on that any longer. So what was some of the reason for the FUD? Well, I'm going to go over some of the things that happened. You make your own decision on how you feel. So there was this tweet that came out from FX Hedge. Now, before we even get into this, I just want to let you guys know that this Twitter account is known for, not necessarily having good sources and oftentimes having baseless claims. So not sure why. Also, a big red flag here is comments are turned off. Okay, just saying that. But U.S. Treasury to charge several financial institutions for money laundering using cryptocurrencies. Sources. Well, it didn't help that it got 5.1K retweets, 6.8K likes. You can even see Andrew Fisher over here, all caps, U.S. Treasury to charge several financial institutions for money laundering using cryptos. Securities lawyers familiars with the Yellen Task Force plan said. Now, to me, this potentially looks like some kind of organized FUD. Also, not to mention, like Jake Chervinsky says, now he is well known as being, the crypto lawyer, the cryptocurrency lawyer. He's very familiar with all of these different legalities. He says, I don't find this credible. The tweet itself is fishy. Treasury doesn't charge money laundering. The Department of Justice does. And a case against several financial institutions at once would be unusual. Also, criminal investigations are kept strictly confidential and rarely leak. I'm not convinced by unnamed sources. So this was one of the potential reasons that were floating around, okay? Something else to consider, which was also a warning that we had mentioned, was the exuberance of DOGECOIN. Now, listen, I'm not hating on DOGECOIN. Congratulations if any of you out there made a lot of money, but at the end of the day, we know that it's really just a meme coin, right? It has insane inflation, much wow, right? Lots of Doge coins get printed all the time. The creator of Doge himself admits that it is a joke coin. And I just want to point out something that does happen for Doge. Now, yes, granted, had you held your Doge, you would have done quite well. But I just want to point out that there is a very big difference between Bitcoin holders and Doge holders. Now, if we go back here, you will notice that this is not uncommon for Doge to break all-time highs, have pumps, and then immediately trace 90%. We have seen over 10 different situations in which Dogecoin has literally pumped to astronomical levels only to dump all the way back down to where it started with mini pumps, along the way. And right here, lots of people said, oh, if you just held your, Doge. And I mean, look, if you do believe in Dogecoin, then by all means, hold it. But most people don't. Most people just get in because of FOMO. They don't really believe in it, right? Not the way that Bitcoin has fundamentals. And what do? They end up panic selling. And a lot of people get burnt in these Dogecoin pumps. So it wouldn't be uncommon, now looking at this pump right here, to, and I'm not trying to scare anyone. Sure, Doge could go to $1, $2 to eventually see, another thing like this again, right? And this is a lot of that exuberance that I talk about that is dangerous, right? When you have all of these people rushing into Dogecoin, taking liquidity out of Bitcoin, and I would say more legitimate altcoins that, actually have real functions potentially, what this does is it just creates a sort of panic, trickle down, cascading liquidation type thing, which there were a lot of liquidations as well. So, this could be one scenario. Maybe we're seeing just a little too much exuberance, in DOGECOIN, and once that started dumping, Bitcoin started dumping. That could be a possibility. One thing some people are also pointing to is the fact that we had almost half the Bitcoin network gone offline in 48 hours. The hash rate had an extreme plummet. Now, why did this happen? Now, they're saying this had something to do with an incident with mining farms that got taken offline, right? They talked about volatilities between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Euro time, where some of the blocks took almost 2 hours. Now, why did this happen? Well, they essentially said that this was because of a potential power outage. They're not sure what happened. There was a sudden flooding accident that caused underground power outages and, communication interruptions in Xinjiang, I might have said that wrong, which overall affected the Bitcoin market, right? So the difficulty, unfortunately, the way that it's built in is that it has adjustments every 2 weeks. Now, this is something that Satoshi built into the protocol that, if we do have a sudden surge or change, right, or drop off of hash rate, the network will adjust itself. This is good, right? This is part of Bitcoin, but it often takes 2 weeks roughly. It's actually blocks, but essentially, you do have these short-term volatilities. This might have created some panic, took a little time to send transactions. Then you have the price start to fall. You have people start to, freak out. Their positions are getting liquidated. You guys know how panic selling goes. So that is also one possibility as well. However, just to point this out, Willy Woo said price and hash rate have always been correlated. This is Bitcoin price today versus hash rate collapsing from the blackout. And he says right here, you can see, he says, for those who remember the hash rate collapse of November 2017, we had a very similar situation. Yes, it did affect the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin price fell from about 8K all the way down to about sub 6K, but it did in fact recover. So he's just pointing this out. He says already nearly recovered already in the hash rate totally. He says by the effing dip, right? So that's essentially the consensus moving around. Now, I just want to point out that all of these could be the situation, right? All of these, we could say, oh, it was the blackout. Oh, it was the altcoin exuberance pump and dump of Dogecoin. We could say that it was the news that came out. But ultimately, getting back to my point here, guys, essentially, we had a major area right here, this blue box that I've been talking about. It was an area that we had been looking for to retest. We retested it. What I believe is it's just a healthy retest of the market. It's funny, I use the term healthy. Is a flash crash like this necessarily healthy? Not necessarily, but the fact that since the crash, we've already bounced back from bottom to top about 10%. I would say that this is good, showing that there is a lot of buyer confidence. The dip is getting bought up, and I wouldn't be surprised to see in a few days, some other financial institution or publicly traded company did in fact buy the dip. Now, not to mention, you've even seen guys like Ray Dalio, who previously did bash Bitcoin, saying that it's too volatile and it could never be a medium of exchange. And recently, he has become somewhat more open-minded about Bitcoin, saying that maybe there is something that he's missing. Although he hasn't gone public to apologize for his previous Bitcoin bashings and shout that he was wrong, he did outline some of the merits a few days ago. Furthermore, while highlighting the significance of a well-balanced and diversified portfolio, he did say that Bitcoin has proven its place in an investment portfolio and added, "I like the diversification of those risk assets." So we are seeing the market mature. We are seeing a lot of these naysayers changing their minds, okay, which is a very positive thing. And if we do have to end on one thing today, I want you to watch this clip. This is President of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. Shout out to Neil Jacobs for posting this. And I want you to listen exactly what he has to say about his stance on Bitcoin related to everything else happening in the economy right now.
The Fed is studying digital currency. It's studying this subject, and we should be. Many people have asked about what China the experiment they just announced. And only a comment I'll make is I would differentiate between a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and the discussions that are being had about digital currency. For example, the China experiment, which is tied to the value of the underlying currency. So I think those are two separate things. And so the challenges on Bitcoin is how widely will it be adopted? Right now, it's clear it's a store of value. It's obviously moves a lot in value, and it's so that may keep it from spreading too far as a medium of exchange and wide adoption, but that can change and that will evolve, as Tim just went through. The discussions around the world on digital currency are slightly different in that a digital currency won't necessarily be a store of value. If you're worried about the value of underlying currency, digital currency is likely to be, for example, in China, is tied to the value of the underlying. And then it's a way of ease of payment, domestic payments first, getting money to where it's needed. In some cases, you could argue in China, it's a way to monitor flows. Maybe this is a little more of the control that Tim was talking about. And then ultimately, how far will this go? And there's been speculation about global payments and the implications. So I'm going to be careful as a central banker to go further than that, other than to say, me and my team, we've studied intensively and we'll keep studying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And then the Fed has said publicly that it's studying this digital currency issue. But I'll just mention that there may be two different things based on whether they're tied to an underlying currency.
So on that note, guys, this is just a flash crash. It is a weekend. We have low liquidity. Obviously, we have a huge futures gap up at around $61,000. We did need to retest a critical level. It is always possible that you need to shake out these weak hands. We did have a lot of extreme greed going on. This is part of a healthy market. As long as we continue to put in higher highs and higher lows, then that is good in my book. And also remember that nothing has fundamentally changed about Bitcoin. It is still the most amazing store of value on planet Earth. It is still censorship resistant. It is still not able to be blocked or, banned truly by any government. And if you own your own private keys, then it's one of the few things on this planet that you can actually say are truly yours. And on that note, thank you so much again for coming back to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you haven't gotten subscribed yet, well, we make these videos quite often. You don't want to miss out. Turn on the bell notification. And of course, if you haven't watched these videos popping up right here, right now, check them out. And until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.